Hello again, everyone. This is my 6th video for the how-to build of the Prusa Mendel. Just wanted to show you where it's at this point. A few things to mention. The belts on both the Y and X axes, make them at least 2 to 3 inches longer than they need to be. It will keep heartaches from happening later on, because you're going to have to adjust all this, and it's either going to be lengthened or shortened depending on where all this needs to square up on your Z axis and your X and your Y actually. So just make the belts a little bit longer. As far as squaring up the frame, to start on that, need to make sure from here to here, from front to back, is exactly the same. Of course, we've done this already from front to back on your horizontal sides. They're all the same, and from top to bottom on front and back on both sides, they're all the same. And then you need to find center of your bottom bearing bases for your Z axis. And the way I did that was very easy. I just took a rod and held it against it like this, just above the nuts, and then marked with a pencil on both sides of the base. So I did this side, and then I took it and went on the back side and took a pencil and marked it again. So from those 2 points you can find center, exact center of where you need to measure from here and from the back to get exact center spacing between here and between here. So once you have that spacing, then a fine-tuned measurement, you can take a plumb bob. Doesn't have to be this big, but you can take a plumb bob and put it in the very center of your upper Z-axis mount for your motors, and then align that center mark with the plumb bob. And once you have that mark lined up, it should be there from now on. You can go ahead and tighten the 2 nuts up here and the 2 nuts up here. Fairly simple and easy. Okay, once you have that done, these both lined up, and you have all this from left to right exact the same, and the back left to right exactly the same, then you can take and center your rods between here and here. And once you have the rods centered, then you can go ahead and align your belt, your pulley mechanism front to back. You can align that. You can align your base for your Y-axis motor, and you can tighten all this up. You can tighten the bottom up, you can tighten the back, all that up. Okay, then from that point you want to square the right top to the bottom left, and the top left to the bottom right. And the way I do that, there's probably an easier way, but the way I did it, I just took a tape measure and picked a point right here on the bottom of your stabilizer, Z-axis stabilizer, to the back of the nut on the bottom left for your Z-axis base and picked a point where I could measure from, and then I moved the X motor or the extruder and did the same thing on this side. So if the measurements are the same, it's square, but if they're not, you have to bring it into square, and depending on which one is short, you have to move the opposite side. So if this one is long, then you have to move this one this way to make this measurement longer. So you want to bring both X's, your measurements, into the same measurement. That will get you square for your frame, your Z-axis up and down, and everything else. Okay, once you get this square with your measurements from your Z-axis, then you can go ahead and tighten these up, your bolts, and everything will be square. Now what I've done also with my feet, I've taken a level and put across my two Y-axis smooth rods and went ahead and leveled the bottom of this thing all the way around. And you need to do that for your plumb bob, and I'm sorry I didn't mention it earlier, but that's really the first thing you need to do, is level the bottom frame to get everything right. And once you get that level, then you can check it this way. And what I did, I just went on these angle pieces here and I checked these with this. Of course I had a makeshift level here that I could check it with. It's a little bit shorter. So these are a plumb with this and these aluminum strips. And once you get all that level, then you can go ahead and check the plumb bob, get your center measurements here, your plumb bob on both sides, tighten everything up. Then you can do the X measurement for your Z-axis, get all that squared up. Now the last thing I'm going to show you is the most important. What I've done is taken a flat aluminum plate, make sure it's perfect from top to bottom. It's not twisted. And push this out of the way. Take a square and go ahead and put it on the X rods, smooth rods, and then check it to see if it's smooth, or not smooth, but to see if it's square with the Y-axis rods. That's very important, because if it's out any, you're going to get a bad print. So this one is in square. If you get a little wobble back and forth like this, then you need to bring them in square. And it's just a matter of loosening bolts and tightening them one way or another. And check them both to see if they're out any. And both of these are in, just like that. Okay, so that's pretty much all you do for squaring the frame up. I know it looks like it doesn't take much time, but it took at least a couple of hours to do that. Leveling, getting this bottom all set up on both sides, back and front, left and right, and then your Z-axis rods, getting them level with each other. And you want them level with each other so this thing will go up, down, and freely, not binding. And then you need to grease these rods for your nuts. So all of this is tight, all the couplings are tight. Bottom has a nut on the washer and a nut inside and on top, and they're tightened against each other with bearing in between, both sides same way. All of these are tight. Every nut on this thing is pretty much tight now. These rods, clamps, everything are tight. So let me see, the belts are tensioned and I get free movement back and forth. So the next thing we'll be doing is putting in the heated bed, and it will be leveling the nozzle to the heated bed. I'll have to get some glass for the heated bed because I don't want to level this to the heated bed itself, but I want to level it to the glass. And I think I'll be drilling holes in the glass because I'm going to make the glass just a little bit larger all the way around than the heated bed's going to be. So that means I'll have to submerge the glass around the bolts that hold the heat pad or heated pad on, heated plate. And I went ahead and put the Z-axis opto end stop, just stuck it on there for now. I need to build the electronics for this, for all three opto end stops, and once I do that, then I'll go ahead and put the plastic plate on, get my electronics and everything ready to mount, power supply. Then we'll be able to lengthen all the wires on all the motors and run them over to the electronics. And I'm going to put all this in heat shrink once it's lengthened. Just make for a nice job. And I put little plugs on every one of these: your motor, your hot end, and your thermistor. That way you can unplug it quickly and unbolt this, take it off if you have to. 2 bolts underneath here is what takes this off. If you have to take your heated or your hot end off for some reason, excuse me, all you have to do, I made it to where you can take the bolt out here and slide. There's aluminum plate under here that holds this all together. Once you loosen the bolt, take one bolt out and loosen the other, that swivels out of the way, and you can just pull that hot end completely off. Disconnect it, pull it completely out. So it's a little upgrade from what everybody else has done, and I found it works very nice, a little quicker. And that's all I can think of at this point. Let me get the electronics and I'll show you what I've done on those. Just 1 minute. This all for multi-machine, the Ramps V1.4. It's a do-it-yourself kit, and they're very nice people to deal with. And of course I'll put in links for that as well. But here's the electronics. This is the Arduino board. It's a Mega 2560, and I buy that. You can buy it through Ultimachine and many other places. And the Ramps board, I've gone ahead and soldered all the connections, all the little pins, all that's been done, all the components, and the Pololu drivers for the stepper motors. There's some soldering that you have to do on those as well, and then you just plug everything in. The Ramps board plugs into the Arduino, and then the drivers plug into the Ramps board and Of course, this is where the power goes in, and this is where the power comes out. And you have LEDs when you load it. They flash a little bit. USB port, power supply, but you don't need it if you're using the USB. And this is for an SD card adapter, and you probably won't ever use it, but I put the little connectors on there just in case. And a little reset button. So this is ready to go. You do notice, see if I can point at it, I don't know if you can see it, but these two connectors here, there's 4 pins on each. That is for your Z-axis. You have 2 motors. You don't have to splice the motors together. You can just plug them both right into this. And then your Y and your X, and this one here is for your extruder. So that's where all your plugs are for that. And this is for your end stops, and this one is for your temperatures of your heated pad or build plate and your hot end. So that's pretty much all the electronics. And they send wire with it. It's almost a complete kit, really. Really satisfied with these people. They do a good job for everyone. Okay, well, I'm going to show you also how to build a hobbed bolt in another video, and I'll have to take you out to my shop to do that. I have a lathe out there that I can turn the bolt on, and you'll see exactly how to make a hobbed bolt that way. Or you can even use a stud instead of a bolt, which is probably a little bit better and easier, but I don't have a stud at this time, so I'm just going to use bolts to show you. Well, that's it. Hope everything's going okay as far as your builds go. And like I said, if you have any problems, any questions, shoot me a question or two on the YouTube channel I have, and I'll try to answer them for you. And my eBay site is JANLMN, and that's my username for the eBay store. And if you need some parts, there they are. Well, have a good one. Thank you.